In a video that has shocked the world, a pair of white supremacists went into a museum and splashed tomato soup onto Van Gogh's sunflowers at the National Gallery and then glued themselves to the wall. These white supremacists must be stopped and condemned, and they are white supremacists. Maybe you saw the video, Just Stop Oil. I guess they're activists against climate change, but I guess that means that white supremacists can be activists against climate change too. Now, many of you may be saying, now hold on there a minute, Tim. I saw this video. It's got 13 million views, and these people don't appear to be white supremacists. Well, that, my friends, I can disprove. I will prove you wrong. Boom, there it is. There it is. There's the picture. When this young woman who splashed tomato soup onto Van Gogh's painting was being arrested, she flashed a white supremacy hand gesture behind her back. Now, why would she do that? Why? As she's being led away, would she look back at a camera with a smirk and flash the white power hand gesture? Okay, here's the real story. A couple of activists splashed tomato soup on the glass casing of Van Gogh's painting. It's probably fine. And then tried to glue themselves to the wall. It didn't work. And then they were subsequently arrested. Now, it is true, for some reason, as the woman was being carried away, she made the OK hand sign behind her back. But come on, the pink hair, the climate change activism, you mean to tell me this woman does not know about what the OK hand gesture apparently means to the left? She is of the left. These are the people who think it's a dog whistle, and she's dog whistling? Okay, there it is. You see, when they came out and claimed that these words, phrases, and gestures were dog whistles, what they were really saying was that they were Nazis. No, let me explain. The idea of a dog whistle is that you do something only your people can understand. That way, regular people don't hear it. Get it? Dogs hear the whistle, but you can't. But the problem is, most people don't actually know what the secret meaning of these symbols is. To the average person, the OK hand sign just means I'm OK. But to the left, it means you're secretly a white supremacist. And she didn't know that? Okay, maybe. I mean, these people really are dumb. So no, I don't really think they're white supremacists, but sure. Let me show you the video of these morons. There, they're splashing tomato soup on the painting. And then, oh, I love this. She pulls from her bra super glue. I guess the other woman has it in her shoe. They smear the super glue onto their hands. And they're not very quick with it. Trying to puncture it. Oh, they're nervous. She's shaking. And then she sticks her hand in the wall, and they're so nervous. Oh man, we're doing literally nothing about anything. We're not solving any of the world's problems in any way, but I'm so nervous. Congratulations, Just Stop Oil. Everyone hates you now. You are not very smart, and these activists just make you look bad. Oh, these brave young women. I think it was brave. I mean, it takes a lot of courage to outwardly try to destroy a piece of history. Van Gogh's painting is protected by glass, so it's fine, but there's some minor damage to the frame. Well, you know, it is what it is. But these people, what were they trying to accomplish? I'd say a big fat nothing. I mean, obviously they were trying to accomplish, I guess, ending oil. That's what the organization is trying to do. End new oil. Yeah, they want people to die. They are genocidal maniacs. So maybe the white supremacy thing really is true. I believe that all of these more extreme, look, regular people who are concerned about pollution, I respect. When they're saying, you know, we burn a lot of fossil fuels and putting carbon in the atmosphere, I respect it. I do. Look, we're all burning fuels. We're all pumping out carbon and methane and other things. Yeah, I think eventually it causes a destabilization in the ecosystem. We can't change it that much. It's bad. However, I don't think the solution is just, mass murder and genocide. Sorry. I think that we are alive for the human experience, and that means solving this problem in a humane way. Perhaps, as Ian Crossland likes to describe it on Timcast IRL, we can mine carbon from the atmosphere to produce graphene. It's very specific, but we can produce carbon capture technologies to pull carbon from the air and then use it. Trees do that. It's basically what they do. They pull carbon from the air and then make more of themselves. That's kind of cool. Now, a lot of these people think the solution is, tens of millions of people should die. Yeah, I'm not all about the mass execution, murder, and suffering and rioting and destabilization like these people are, but let's be real. These two young women are not smart enough to understand anything. Hence, you see people like Greta Thunberg. How dare you? You come to us young people. If she knew, I don't know, two basic facts, just two, she might have a different attitude. And this is the reality. These two women don't know anything, because I've heard it from these people all before. I've worked for these environmental organizations, and they say things like, the only reason they're still making fossil fuels is because they're addicted to capitalism and profit, and they want to live on yachts. No, that's actually not why they're mining. They're drilling for fossil fuels. Although I would admit that the profit motive is a component. If you genuinely believe that the world is about to go up in flames in a heat wave that will destroy everything in climate change, simply because some cigar-smoking fat white colonizer thinks he should be wealthier, you are in a cult. Like these two young cultists, proud cultists and white supremacists. Whatever they actually represent, I don't know. The reality is that we're trying to produce more energy because people need it. That's the reality. Now, a human being, let's say her name is Janet. She is of childbearing age, and she meets a strapping young lad, and they both say, we really want to have kids. Well, having kids requires energy. And so they agree to have kids, and then they need energy for that kid. And now there's more humans. More humans require more energy. More humans means we need more food. Well, then we turn to the energy industry, and they say we need to increase production for the increased population. I believe this is a death spiral. It can grow to a certain point, but at a certain point, you can't just grow forever, right? Well, so these zealots, their attitude is, let's not have kids because of climate change. Abort your kids because of climate change. I mean, I get the reasoning behind it, but destroying the human experience, I don't think solves the problem. And then ultimately, with stopping fossil fuels, they're outright saying mass murder 60 million people. And it is. If fossil fuels were to get cut off, there would be the death of tens of millions of people within a matter of days. Within a few months, you'd probably see billions dead. Billions. I'm not exaggerating. Where do you think food comes from? How are they going to transport goods? It's all fossil fuels. The ability to extract energy from fossil fuels. And these people probably think it came from dinosaurs. They're probably sitting there thinking like, we can't make more dinosaurs. I was listening to that podcast. What is it? Stuff You Should Know or something. This is a few years ago, and I was just ready to barf because they were talking about fossil fuels, and they were like, we're going to run out because, like, you can't make more dinosaurs, right? Like, fossil fuels is made of dinosaurs, and you can't make more. Wow, that's not correct. But if people believe it, I'm not surprised. They think these things. But, let me tell you guys. This Phoebe and Anna, these protesters, my attitude was when they glued themselves to the wall, please, I beg of you, leave them there. I'm so sick of accommodating these people. If you want to glue yourself to the wall, do it with my blessing. And then we'll all watch you and take pictures. And then within 24 hours, you'll be like, I have to go to the bathroom. And it'll be like, should have thought of that before you glued yourself to a wall, moron. And then when they're like, I'm really hungry. Hey, I'll tell you what. I'll run over to 7-Eleven. I'll pick up some Soylent. And that will keep you healthy and nourished. And then I'll tell you what. Because I'm a nice guy, I'll bring you a bedpan. And you can defecate in front of the audience in the museum as they watch the new exhibit. Why should we have to accommodate crazy people who glue themselves to walls? Actions meet consequences. No, the police come in and carry them away, and they get to do it again. Come on, give baby their bottles. Let them do what they want. What's the harm in letting them glue themselves to the wall? In fact, that'll probably make a lot of money for the museum. After they do it, you charge $20. Come stare at the two young 20-somethings who are starving and starving to death and defecating on the floor. Then maybe they'll be like, we shouldn't do that ever again. This is one of the biggest problems we have in our society. I know this happened in the UK, but one of the biggest problems we have is that when whiny babies whine, our system says, we'll take care of the whiny babies. I'm done. I don't want to pay for it. You want to sit in the middle of the road? I don't care. I'll go around. Here's my attitude. If you want to block the streets, I actually respect the protest, but you should pay the consequences of doing it. If you want to throw tomato soup on a glass panel, trying to ruin a painting, and then glue yourself to the wall, do it with my blessing and pay the consequences. Congratulations. We're talking about your organization. But why then do we foot the bill for this? You want to block the road? People in their cars can drive around you. You want to block the road? You get arrested. And your message gets out. Congratulations. You want to glue yourself to a wall? We'll leave you there. You choose what, you want to be there, fine. In fact, you know what I think? I think if people want to block an intersection, we should just have the cops surround them and be like, you're here, buddy. We'll stay here as long as you need. Now, I know there are people in their cars trying to get to work, so there's a big difference between blocking infrastructure and gluing yourself to a wall. But this was an opportunity, man. This was an opportunity to be like, I'll tell you what. You want to glue yourselves to the wall? Ain't nobody stopping you. And then the next time these activists are like, should we glue ourselves to the wall? They'll go, no, because they'll just leave you there. And then you'll have to defecate in front of random people. And then you'll get really hungry. And then you'll have to beg for help. Why weren't they? Why weren't they forced to beg for help? Flashing that white power hand gesture. Here's what I think. These people have no moral foundation. None. I thought about this. Someone who is willing to destroy a Van Gogh painting, but they don't even know what they're advocating for. That's dangerous. These two young women are as dumb as a box of rocks. It's not just about their lack of knowledge. It's about their unwillingness to investigate. Because maybe then they'd realize why their cause makes no sense. And they would say, maybe I shouldn't throw tomato soup on a painting. Instead, they go, I glued myself to the wall. Moral foundations theory was created by a group of social and cultural psychologists to understand why morality varies so much across cultures, yet still shows so many similarities. Many of you may have heard of this. Jonathan Haidt did a lot of this research. We have care, fairness, loyalty, authority, sanctity, and liberty. And along with those moral foundations is the inverse: harm, cheating, betrayal, subversion, degradation, and oppression. So here's what we end up with. Liberals tend to only have 2 moral foundations of 6. Care and fairness. Care. The foundation is related to our long evolution as mammals with attachment systems and an ability to feel and dislike the pain of others. It underlies virtues of kindness, gentleness, and nurturance. Fairness. It's related to the evolutionary process of reciprocal altruism. It generates ideas of justice, rights, and autonomy. I get it. But liberals don't have loyalty, authority, sanctity, or liberty. And that's important. Loyalty is the foundation related to our long history as tribal creatures, able to form shifting coalitions. It underlies virtues of patriotism and self-sacrifice. Authority. The foundation was shaped by our long primate history of hierarchical social interactions. It underlies virtues of leadership and followership. Sanctity. The foundation was shaped by the psychology of disgust and contamination. It underlies religious notions of striving to live in an elevated, less carnal, more noble way. It underlies the widespread idea that the body is a temple which can be desecrated by immoral activities and contaminants. And I think there's more to add to that, and I will. And liberty, of course, the foundation about feelings of reactance to resentment people feel towards those who dominate them and restrict their liberty. Its intuitions are often in tension with those of authority, blah, 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 blah. Not necessarily. Let's break this down. If you only have care and fairness, well, there you go. You have people who don't care for being loyal. They'll turn on you. Cancel culture. They don't believe in authority. Hence, they believe they have a right to suppress you. They don't believe in sanctity. They would tear down this country and its cultures and institutions, and they do not believe in liberty. You will do as you are told. It all makes sense, doesn't it? But let me tell you about how I feel about it. Care. I care about people. I care about the human experience. Fairness. Yeah. We should all play by the rules so that merit succeeds and we improve as a people and more people get help. Cheating is bad. Loyalty is extremely important. It's called trust. That's what the moral foundation there is to me. That when someone shows that they're working towards the good of you, you trust them And that's where loyalty comes from. Betrayal. Betray. Right. You can't trust that person, can you? Loyalty is about trust. Authority and subversion. Hierarchical social interactions. Authority is important. I am not an authoritarian, but I recognize authority. A doctor has authority. When you are out protesting and an NYPD cop asserts authority and says, "That's a frozen zone," you go, "Shut up. That's not authority. You made that up." And they did this in New York. Authority is you're walking down the street and you hear a scream and you look over and there's a man on the ground and he's bleeding profusely. And there's a man who says, "I'm a doctor. You put your hands on the wound now. Put pressure on it to keep this man alive." You do as you're told. That's authority. You trust the person. It doesn't always play out well. None of these do. You can care for a bad person. You can play fair with a cheater. You can have loyalty to a betrayer. And you can recognize the authority of someone who is lying to you. And that may be a fake doctor. But when a doctor says put pressure on the wound, you say, okay. You do it. You respect the authority of the individual. You don't have to do it. That's not what authority is about. Authority is recognizing the expertise of an individual and why we should listen to them. Liberty. I'll come back to sanctity. Liberty, of course, does not contradict authority. You have the liberty to reject authority. Liberty is that line that someone can say, do as you're told, and you can say, no. They don't oppose each other. Now, someone who believes in subversion and doesn't believe in liberty would try to exert authority over you. And you have liberty. I believe in it. And that's why we have the system we have today. Now, about these two young women and why I bring this up, sanctity and degradation, they don't have it. The foundation was shaped by the psychology of disgust and contamination, underlying religious notions of striving to live in a more elevated, less carnal, noble way, underlies the widespread idea that the body is a temple, and I'm going to stop you right there. They say we think there are several other very good candidates for foundationhood, liberty being one of them, but liberty isn't typically, they say it's only 5 moral foundations, but sanctity. To me, sanctity is not about religion. It's not about God or a temple, a body temple. It's about developing and learning from your mistakes. Why would I protect a crystal flute that has never been played before? Lizzo desecrated it, degraded it, when the morbidly obese singer went up and tooted the flute and then went, woo, and started twerking. You see, the flute represents something. I didn't know the flute existed until before this story, but I'm still mad that it was desecrated because the flute represents an idea, a moment in time, a stitch in time, forever preserved, and we are reminded of its existence by the existence of this object. I want you to remember something. Remember something. Fruit of the Loom. How about that? Imagine the Fruit of the Loom logo. What do you see? Many of you may be familiar with what I'm bringing up, the Mandela effect. Because many people seem to recall there was a cornucopia behind the fruit in the Fruit of the Loom logo. But the company says this is not the case. There never was a cornucopia. You're mistaken. There was a musician who created an album that was a parody of the Fruit of the Loom logo with a metal cornucopia behind it. And many people point this out and say, if there was never a cornucopia behind that logo, why did this musician parody the logo with a cornucopia? Interesting question. You tell me. I don't know. I can only tell you one thing. Sanctity to me is to preserve these moments as a reminder, as a map, as a marker in time. Whenever I would cover major news events, I would take a piece of that event with me as a physical reminder it happened. Now, of course, it's possible someone gaslights you, drugs you, and then gives you a fake artifact and claims that's where it came from, I guess. But no, for me, it was always about, I have these items, I take a look and I say, that happened. There it is. There, I remember when I got that. I remember where it came from. And it never changes. That to me is what sanctity is. It is about trying to strive to live in a less carnal, more noble way to a certain degree. It's about saying those who forget the past are doomed to repeat it. These young women sought to desecrate and destroy a Van Gogh. They failed. And they seek to erase culture as the left does. the end result will not be a better life for everyone. It'll be a worse life. We'll forget the lessons of the past. We'll forget they even existed. And that's a fact. It used to be that we couldn't build skyscrapers. We couldn't make buildings higher than 8 stories or something like that. Why? Heat accumulation got too great as the buildings got taller and taller. And then one day some dude invented an air conditioner, and it could funnel the heat out into the world, keeping cold air in. It's a brilliant technique using Freon, and it compresses Freon. When the Freon expands, it has to absorb the heat from the room, and then it gets compressed, ejecting the heat. So it creates this wall where cold goes in and heat goes out. It's incredible. I love air conditioning. Because of that, we could now build higher and higher. And then, of course, central air came along. But hold on there a minute. The technology existed to build beyond this a long time ago. There were indigenous tribes around, I believe in Africa, that built their huts in such a way that heat was funneled out of the top and cold air was pulled in, keeping their structures crisp and cool. The technology was lost. We didn't know or care about it. We'd seen it. We'd not cared about it. Apparently, they learned how to do this from looking at anthills. Anthills would build in such a way that it would pull air lower to the ground in and then push the heat out, regulating temperature. It's quite fascinating. Thanks to the rediscovery of ancient knowledge, we've incorporated these designs into newer buildings to lower the energy costs for air conditioning. And that's the point. Without sanctity, you forget these simple facts and you live worse. You live worse off. That's why I think it's so important to protect and preserve history. That's why I care about a crystal flute and a painting. And that's why I think these people are extremely dangerous. I'll leave it there. Next segment's coming up at 4 p.m. over at youtube.com/Timcast. Thanks for hanging out, and I'll see you all then.